Hi guys, so as mentioned a couple of times, Ramadan ends in the evening of the 14th of June. After that, I believe that the war in southern Syria is going to begin. Now, I already brought the report to you about the Syrian army building up in southern Syria, and on the opposite side, the US-backed militants also building up on that side. So a military source from the Free Syrian Army confirmed that the Syrian government forces sent reinforcements to Deir al-Adaz town, 60 kilometers north of Dara, southern Syria, in preparation for launching military operations in the region. The military source added that they had observed, the arrival of a 10-vehicle Syrian government forces convoy into the research area west of Tal Bazak, 13 kilometers north of Quneitra, coming from the northern village of Ayuba. The Syrian government also fully mobilized its forces in Deir al-Adaz town. So that's just a quick recap of the Syrians building up in the area, the US militants building up in the area, and then suddenly the IDF, the Israel Defense Force, calls up reserves after Syria announces Quneitra offensive this week. So obviously they're saying this week, that's actually referring to next week because today is June the 10th. So Israel launched an unscheduled military exercise on the Golan Sunday, June 10th. Thousands of army reservists were ordered to report for immediate duty with full gear and come directly from their homes and workplaces. Strange. That the sudden IDF announcement did not set a timeline for the exercises ending indicated that it was prompted by the Syrian military announcement on the same morning of a major army offensive impending this week in the Quneitra region, opposite Israel's Golan border. The announcement also referred to a twin offensive against the Dara province on the Jordanian border. The units taking part were named as the Syrian Army's 4th Armored Division for Quneitra and the Tigers, backed by the 4th Division elements for the Dara operation. Israel's Golan exercise was announced in order to deter the Syrian offensive, which it won't. Debka File reported earlier that Bashar Assad ordered his army to go forward this week in the light of the failure of the talks in Helsinki, on Friday between General Joseph Dunford, chairman of the Joint US Chiefs of Staff, and General Valery Gerasimov, chief of Russia's general staff, to reach agreement on the Syria question. So that failed. Our military sources report that Israel's army forces, can't afford to take the chance of leaving the Quneitra front under Syrian military threat. The Damascus announcement omitted to mention its allies. However, according to Debka File sources, the Syrian offensive is planned to take place in conjunction with Hezbollah forces and the pro-Iranian Shiite Liwa Abu Fadl al-Abbas militia from Afghanistan, which fights under Revolutionary Guards officers, that's from Iran, who have already taken up position outside Quneitra. So you can see, my apologies for the mistakes in reading that report, but you can see that this is serious. This is serious. Next week, there is going to be war in southern Syria, which, if it is in this timeline, and the timeline is correct, then it's going to escalate into direct confrontation between Israel and Iran, potentially strikes on Iran as well, directly, as Iran has mixed its militants in with the Syrian army by dressing them up as the Syrian army. So I'm just following the reports here and drawing some conclusions. In association with that, Turkey, one of the countries that borders Syria, has just finished, coincidentally, a 764-kilometer security wall to protect its border from refugees flooding across in the event of a full-scale war. So Turkey has completed the construction of a 764-kilometer concrete wall along its border with Syria, according to a Turkish official on Saturday. Toki, the state-backed housing developer, built 564 kilometers of the wall, while the governors of the border provinces built 200 kilometers, the official told Anadolu agency on condition of anonymity. Ankara had launched the construction project in 2015 to build an 826-kilometer wall, keep saying that number, he's saying different kilometers, on the Syrian border as part of Turkey's measures to increase border security and combat smuggling and illegal border crossings. Turkey shares a 911-kilometer border with Syria, which has been embroiled in a civil war since 2011. So I'm just going to stop there because it's pretty clear that this project on building this wall, constructing this wall, started in 2015. A very short 3 years later, considering the scale of the project, it's complete just now, just before we reach into the time where a major conflict in Syria, which could spill out of Syria into other countries, is due to take place. My thoughts on that, as I said before, is after Ramadan is finished, when the sun goes down on the 14th of June, Ramadan is over, and then this whole war can begin. So I don't know if it's going to begin directly after the sun goes down, as soon as everything's done, start straight away, or if it's going to move on to the 15th, a very high watch day, looking out for many different things, an earthquake being one of them. So a lot to watch. And then you've got Kim Jong-un arriving in Singapore, and I'm wondering why it's so important for both Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump to arrive in Singapore days ahead of the summit, like 2 or 3 days ahead of the summit. So I'm just watching that closely and just wondering what's going on there. Kim Jong-un arrived in Singapore on Sunday, today, ahead of his historic summit with President Donald Trump, when Trump and Kim meet at the five-star Capella Hotel on the resort island of Sentosa, the island they're left from behind. On Tuesday, they will be making history even before they start. Enemies since the Korean War, the leaders of North Korea and United States has never met previously or even spoken on the phone. Kim arrived at Singapore's Changi Airport on an Air China jet on Sunday afternoon, local time, after his longest trip overseas as head of state amid huge security precautions on the city-state island. 2 decoy flights were also dispatched. So I'm just going to stop reading there because it's pretty clear what that report is. Basically, Kim Jong-un is now in Singapore. Donald Trump left the G7 summit early yesterday to get to Singapore early as well. So considering the theories around that potential meeting, with Kim Jong-un saying he's afraid of assassination, but my thoughts are being that that could possibly be Donald Trump instead. Not dying, but possibly surviving. Maybe there's a metal plate in his head. Maybe there's not. That could tie in with the surgery he's had, scalp reduction surgery. If you check out the procedure for that, it involves taking a scalpel, slicing the scalp open, drawing the bits together. During that procedure, a metal plate could easily be inserted under the scalp. Recovery time was a long time. He had that surgery years and years and years ago. And, the kind of things that Donald Trump says, like in relation to this North Korean summit, and in relation to the presidency in general, it's like he says he's been preparing for this all his life. That just kind of makes me think, okay, if you've been preparing for it all your life, it's possible that there's things that you could have done in the past that have prepared you for the future, or his future, depending on what that is. So I just wanted to bring that all to your attention. And very quickly, I just wanted to work backwards in reference to the volcano scenario. So the tsunami is the penultimate event from the volcano exploding. So I'm thinking backwards in that sense, like, okay, tsunami, how would that be caused? There's not many things that can cause a tsunami. One of those things is an earthquake. Earthquakes happen all the time, but massive earthquakes don't happen all the time. Could it happen naturally? Of course it could. But more than likely it will be activated by something else. Something that could cause an earthquake, a massive earthquake, is something that's currently going on now, which is a volcano, Kilauea. Kilauea is erupting. There's been over 12,000 earthquakes there since it did start erupting on May 3rd. So it could be possible that a major earthquake would come out of that region. But would that come naturally? It could. But then and again, I say that is not what's going to happen, or that's not what I think is going to happen. I think that it's going to be activated purposely. And how would that happen? Possibly a nuclear weapon launched from a submarine. How would it be possible that a submarine could launch a missile into a volcano? China stealing submarine war plans or submarine details like signals and maneuvers and things like that. So giving them a slight advantage over the United States Navy in that sense, because they pretty much know how the submarines work. It's all there. It's all there. It's all laid out. So if by stealing the submarine plans, you're able to get a submarine into the Pacific Ocean, launch a nuclear weapon into a volcano, generate an earthquake and a tsunami, that's how I'm thinking about it. So, you guys, I just wanted to bring that all to your attention. Important to watch after June 14th in the Middle East, particularly Syria, between the Syrian army and the US-backed militants that could draw in Israel and Russia and the United States and so on and so forth, keep escalating until a lot more countries are involved than really should be. And then obviously from the 11th, which is Monday, tomorrow, we've got this whole week of watch where we're looking out for all the things that I just talked about, plus EMP, blackout, and the other scenarios that have been presented over this long history of investigating what's going on and where it's leading. You guys, that's all I've got for you today. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and God bless.